Hello, in this video we're looking at how to answer question 3b and 3c on your paper 3 Weimar and Nazi Germany exam. So, what will 3b look like? It will look like this. You will have to study interpretation 1 and interpretation 2. The question will say they give different views about something. So in this example, we continue with our study about Nazi support growing. So the question says they gave different views about why support for the Nazis grew from 1929 to 1933. It will ask you what is the main difference between these views. It will ask you to explain your answer using detail from both interpretations. This is a 4-mark question and you'll have 5 minutes to write it. Now, this just recaps some terminology. So a source is a piece of historical evidence like a photo, diary, drawing, newspaper article, or speech. And an interpretation is a person's view on the past. Now, the sources this person looks at helps determine what their view is of an event in the past. Different historians will have different views on the same event. The best school example I can think of for you guys is your school report. If we treat that as a historical source of how you're getting on at school, different people can interpret this in different ways. So someone might look at your report and say, you're doing well. Your teachers say you behave well in class. Your behaviour is good. But a different person could look at that report and say their interpretation is it's not a good report because some teachers say you don't hand homework in on time. It's the same event as you at school, but people might look at that source differently. So here in this question, we have two historians' views of the past. There will be a clear difference of view of events. You've just got to explain how are they different and how can you prove it to show you're not just guessing or making it up. Okay, so let's have a look then at the first interpretations. Interpretation 1 says this. The Nazis knew how to appeal to a wide range of people. They made promises to different groups in Germany that would help them get their votes. Propaganda in the form of speeches convinced many Germans that the only future for Germany lay in the hands of Hitler. Whereas interpretation 2 says, the Wall Street crash and economical global crisis were a miracle Hitler needed to increase his support. Before the crash, the Nazis had very little support in Germany, and people were content with the Weimar Republic. It was only after they failed to deal with the unemployment that people turned to the extreme parties for support. Now, two different interpretations, two different views. You can see I've highlighted in bold there the bits I'm interested in from both of them. Interpretation 1 is saying that it was actually the Nazi appeal, and interpretation 2 says that the Nazis only got power because of economic problems with the Wall Street crash. So, this is how I'd start this answer off. These interpretations are different as they disagree on why Nazi support grew from 1929 to 1933. I'm getting in it straight away, I'm answering the question. Now I've given the difference, I need to show that I've not made it up, I need to show information from both interpretations. Interpretation 1 believes it was due to the appeal of the Nazis to a range of groups. I know this as it says, they made promises to different groups in Germany that would help them to get their vote. Always bring that quote in. Interpretation 2, however, says Nazi support grew as a result of the Wall Street crash. I know this as it says, the Wall Street crash and economical global crisis were a miracle Hitler needed to increase his support. Again, I'm not just showing, I'm guessing, I'm bringing in evidence to back up my viewpoints. And an answer like this, guys, will get you 4 marks. This won't take you long to write, 5 minutes and that's it. This is the length that you need. Just a few things to think about here for this question. First of all, explain the difference. Don't just repeat the interpretations. Actually take the time to explain what they have different viewpoints on. And also, like I've just shown you, back it up with evidence. A short, precise quote from each interpretation. Don't spend ages on this. Don't copy out the entire interpretation. Moving on quickly to question 3c. Question 3c will ask you to suggest one reason why interpretation 1 and interpretation 2 give different views about the reasons why Nazi support increased from 1929 to 1933. This might sound like a similar question to the first one, but this time explain why their views have come, not how are they different. The question gives you a hint here where it says, you may use sources B and C in your answer, and you will need to do this to get an easy 4 marks. Again, with 4 marks, I'd spend about 5 minutes writing this. So, interpretation, a person's view on the past. We've got this idea that historians could have each used and given weight. When I say given weight, they believe the importance of different sources. So they could have got their information from different sources to help form their views. That's how I would start my answer off. Word for word, I would start the answer off like this. One reason the interpretations could be different is because they have given weight to different sources. Now, the question spoke about source B and source C. Of course, you remember them. You've not forgotten them from the last video. Here they are again. A speech from Hitler saying why people should vote for the Nazis, and that photograph in 1929 of people outside the German bank. Now, these match up, don't they? Source B matches up with interpretation 1, talking about how the Nazis got support from different people. It is quite possible that the historian who wrote interpretation 1 looked at source B, believed in source B, and used that to form their opinion. And you can see that I've highlighted some stuff from source B. A vote for the Nazis is a vote for a better Germany. And it kind of matches up with the end of interpretation 1. Propaganda in the form of speeches convinced many Germans that the only future for Germany lay in the hands of Hitler. There's a match there. How would we write this out? Again, not much writing here. I'd start off like this. Interpretation 1 could have given more weight to source B. This is because the interpretation says propaganda in the form of speeches convinced many Germans that the only future for Germany lay in the hands of Hitler. This matches source B, which says a vote for the Nazis is a vote for a better Germany. Okay, so we've shown they match up. I've brought in a quote to prove my point from each one, just as short quotes. Now we need to do the same for the other interpretation, which will match with the other source. Now, in this case, the source is a picture, and therefore we describe what we can see in the picture. So, interpretation 2 could have given more weight to source C. This is because the interpretation says the Wall Street crash and economic global crisis were a miracle Hitler needed, and source C shows a crowd of desperate people around a bank, highlighting the economical problems that Germany faced. Again, not much writing, but I'm showing how the historians could have used these sources to form their views. And when we see out in full, it's not much writing there. Always start your answer off the same way. They could be different because they've given weight to different sources to form their opinions. And then show how the interpretations match. One of the interpretations will match with one of the sources. The other interpretation will match up with the other source. They should be fairly easy to do. And then you just need evidence from each to show why they match. Now, I think that this question, once you understand what you need to do, is probably the easiest one throughout all 3 exam papers to do. But people tend to make mistakes, and there's easy marks to pick up here. First of all, please remember you are answering why they might be different. So don't repeat how they're different. You've just done that in 3B. Now you think about why these people have formed these opinions. You need evidence to back up your views. So use the sources. Okay, source B says this, source C says this to back up your ideas. And honestly, stick to this method of writing the answer. We get candidates who say things like, this historian is right-wing, or it's because it's come from the book with this title. Don't be too confusing. Keep it really simple here. Match the interpretations up to the sources and a little extract from each. 5 minutes, that's all that will take. So that's how to answer question 3B and 3C in your exam.